Hello, we are in 1 Kings chapter 1. And sovereign David was old, advanced in years, and they covered him with garments, but he could not get warm. So his servants said to him, Let them seek for our master the sovereign a young woman, a maiden, and she shall stand before the sovereign and be his companion, and shall lie in your bosom, so that our master the sovereign gets warm. And they sought for a beautiful young woman in all the border of Israel, and found Abishag the Shunammite, and brought her to the sovereign. And the young woman was very beautiful, and she was a companion for the sovereign, and served him, but the sovereign did not know her. And Adoniah, son of Haggith, exalted himself, saying, I reign. And he prepared for himself a chariot and horsemen and 50 men to run before him. Now his father had not worried him at any time by saying, Why have you done so? He was also very good looking, and he was born after Absalom. And he talked with Joab, son of Zeruiah, and with Abithar the priest, and they supported Adoniah. But Zadok the priest, and Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, and Nathan the prophet, and Shimei and Rei, and the mighty men who belonged to David were not with Adoniah. And Adoniah slaughtered sheep and cattle and fatlings by the stone of Zoheleth, which is by Enrogel. He also invited all his brothers, the sovereign's sons, and all the men of Yehudah, servants of the sovereign. But he did not invite Nathan the prophet, or Benaiah, or the mighty men of Shlomo his brother. Nathan then spoke to Bathsheba, the mother of Shlomo, saying, Have you not heard that Adoniah, son of Haggith, has become sovereign, and David our master does not know it? And now come, let me give you advice, and deliver your own life and the life of your son Shlomo. Go immediately to sovereign David and say to him, Did you not, my master, O sovereign, swear to your female servant, saying, Certainly your son Shlomo shall reign after me, and he shall sit on my throne? Why then is Adoniah become sovereign? Look, while you are still speaking there with the sovereign, let me come in after you and confirm your words. And Bathsheba went into the room to the sovereign. Now the sovereign was very old, and Abishag the Shunammite was serving the sovereign. And Bathsheba bowed and did obeisance to the sovereign. And the sovereign said, What do you wish? And she said to him, My master, you swore by Yahweh your Elohim to your female servant, saying, Certainly Shlomo, your son, shall reign after me, and he shall sit on my throne. And now, look, Adoniah has become sovereign, and now my master, the sovereign, you do not know about it. And he has slaughtered great numbers of bulls and fatlings and sheep, and has invited all the sons of the sovereign, and Abiathar the priest, and Joab the commander of the army, but he did not invite Shlomo your servant. And you, my master, O sovereign, the eyes of all Israel are on you, to declare to them who is going to sit on the throne of my master the sovereign after him. Otherwise it shall be, when my master the sovereign rests with his fathers, that I and my son Shlomo shall be considered sinners. And see, while she was still speaking with the sovereign, Nathan the prophet also came in. So they informed the sovereign, saying, Here is Nathan the prophet. And when he came in before the sovereign, he bowed down before the sovereign with his face to the ground. And Nathan said, My master, O sovereign, have you said, Adoniah shall reign after me, and he shall sit on my throne? For he has gone down today, and has slaughtered great numbers of bulls and fatlings and sheep, and has invited all the sovereign's sons and the commanders of the army, and Abiathar the priest. And look, they are catting and drinking before him. And they say, Let sovereign Adoniah live. But he has not invited me, your servant, nor Zadok the priest, nor Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, nor your servant Shlomo. If this matter is from my master the sovereign, then you did not let your servant know who should sit on the throne of my master the sovereign after him. And sovereign David answered and said, Call Bathsheba to me. So she came into the sovereign's presence and stood before the sovereign. And the sovereign took an oath and said, As Yahweh lives, who has ransomed my life out of all distress, even as I swore to you by Yahweh Elohim of Israel, saying, Certainly Shlomo, your son, shall reign after me, and he shall sit on my throne in my place. Even so I do this day. And Bathsheba bowed with her face to the earth, and did obeisance to the sovereign, and said, Let my master, sovereign David, live forever. And sovereign David said, Call me Sadok the priest, and Nathan the prophet, and Benaiah, son of Jehoiada. And they came before the sovereign. And the sovereign said to them, Take with you the servants of your master, and you shall have Shlomo my son ride on my own mule, and take him down to Gibeon. And there Sadok the priest and Nathan the prophet shall anoint him sovereign over Israel, and blow the shofar, and say, Let sovereign Shlomo live. And you shall come up after him, and he shall come and sit on my throne, and he shall reign in my place, for I have commanded him to be ruler over Israel and over Yehuda. And Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, answered the sovereign and said, Amen. So says Yahweh Elohim of my master the sovereign. As Yahweh has been with my master the sovereign, so let him be with Shlomo, and make his throne greater than the throne of my master sovereign David. Then Sadok the priest, and Nathan the prophet, and Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, and the Kerethites and the Pelethites went down, and had Shlomo ride on sovereign David's mule, and took him to Gihon. And Sadok the priest took a horn of oil from the tent of anointed Shlomo, and they blew with the shofar, and all the people said, Let sovereign Shlomo live. And all the people came up after him, and the people played the flutes and rejoiced with great joy, so that the earth was split by their noise. And Adoniyahu and all the guests who were with him heard it as they had finished eating. And Joab heard the voice of the shofar and said, Why is the city in such a noisy uproar? And he was still speaking when Jonathan came, son of Abiathar, the priest. And Adoniyahu said to him, Come in, for you are a brave man, and you bring good news. But Jonathan answered and said to Adoniyahu, No, our master sovereign David has made Shlomo sovereign, and the sovereign has sent with him Sadok the priest, and Nathan the prophet, and Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, and the Kerethites and the Pelethites, and they had him ride on the sovereign's mule. And Sadok the priest and Nathan the prophet have anointed him sovereign at Gihon, and they have gone up from there rejoicing, and the city is moved. This is the noise you heard. And further, Shlomo sits on the throne of the reign. And further, the servants of the sovereign have gone to bless our master, sovereign David, saying, Let your Elohim make the name of Shlomo better than your name, and his throne greater than your throne. And the sovereign bowed himself on the bed. And the sovereign also said thus, Blessed be Yahweh Elohim of Israel, who has given one to sit on my throne this day, while my eyes see it. And all the guests who were invited by Adoniyahu were afraid, and rose, and each one went his way. And Adoniyahu was afraid of Shlomo, and rose, and went and took hold of the horns of the slaughter place. And it was reported to Shlomo, saying, Look, Adoniyahu is afraid of sovereign Shlomo, and look, he has taken hold of the horns of the slaughter place, saying, Let sovereign Shlomo swear to me today that he does not put his servant to death with the sword. And Shlomo said, If he proves himself a worthy man, not one hair of him is going to fall to the earth. But if evil is found in him, then he shall die. And sovereign Shlomo sent, and they brought him down from the slaughter place. And he came and fell down before sovereign Shlomo. And Shlomo said to him, Go to your house. Chapter 2. And the days of David drew near to die, and he commanded Shlomo his son, saying, I am going the way of all the earth, and you shall be strong, and be a man, and guard the charge of Yahweh your Elohim, to walk in his ways, to guard his laws, his commands, his right rulings, and his witnesses, as it is written in the Torah of Moshe, so that you do wisely all that you do and wherever you turn, so that Yahweh does establish his word which he spoke concerning me, saying, if your sons guard their way to walk before me in truth with all their heart and with all their being, saying, there is not to cease a man of yours on the throne of Israel. And also, you know what Joab, son of Zeruiah, did to me, and what he did to the two commanders of the armies of Israel, to Abner, son of Ner, and Amasa, son of Jether, that he killed them, and shed the blood of battle in peace, and put the blood of battle on his belt that was around his waist, and on his sandals that were on his feet. So act according to your wisdom, and do not let his gray hair go down to Sheol in peace, but show loving commitment to the sons of Barzillai the Gittite, and let them be among those who eat at your table. For so they came to me when I fled from Absalom your brother. And see, with you is Shimei, son of Gera, the Benjamite from Bahurim, who cursed me with a grievous cursing in the day when I went to Mahanaim. But he came down to meet me at the Yarden, and I swore to him by Yahweh, saying, I shall not put you to death with the sword. And now do not leave him unpunished, for you are a wise man, and know what you should do to him, and shall bring his gray hair down to Sheol with blood. And David slept with his fathers, and was buried in the city of David. And the days that David reigned over Israel was 40 years. He reigned 7 years in Hebron, and in Jerusalem he reigned 33 years. And Shlomo sat on the throne of his father David, and his reign was firmly established. And Adoniyahu, son of Haggith, came to Bathsheba, the mother of Shlomo, and she said, do you come in peace? And he said, peace. And he said, I have a word for you. And she said, speak. And he said, you know that the reign was mine, and all Israel had set their faces toward me, that I should reign. But the reign has been turned around, and has become my brother's, for it was his from Yahweh. And now I am making one request of you. Do not refuse me. And she said to him, say it. And he said, please speak to Sovereign Shlomo, for he would not refuse you to give me Abishag, the Shunammite, as wife. And Bathsheba said, good, let me speak for you to the sovereign. And Bathsheba came to Sovereign Shlomo to speak to him for Adoniyahu. And the sovereign rose to meet her, and bowed down to her, and sat down on his throne, and had a throne set for the sovereign's mother. So she sat at his right hand. And she said, I am making one small request of you. Do not refuse me. And the sovereign said to her, ask it, my mother, for I do not refuse you. Then she said, let Abishag, the Shunammite, be given to Adoniyahu, your brother, as wife. And the sovereign Shlomo answered and said to his mother, now why do you ask Abishag, the Shunammite, for Adoniyahu? Ask for him the reign also, for he is my older brother, for him, and for Abiathar the priest, and for Joab son of Zeruiah. And the sovereign Shlomo swore by Yahweh, saying, Elohim does so to me, and more also, if Adoniyahu has not spoken this word against his own life. And now as Yahweh lives, who established me, and set me on the throne of David my father, and who has made me a house, as he promised, Adoniyahu shall be put to death today. And Sovereign Shlomo sent by the hand of Beniyahu, son of Yoyada, and he fell on him, and he died. And the sovereign said to Abiathar the priest, go to Anathoth, to your own fields, for you deserve death, but I do not put you to death at this time, because you did bear the ark of the Master Yahweh before my father David, and because you were afflicted in all my father was afflicted in. So Shlomo dismissed Abiathar from being priest to Yahweh, to fill the word of Yahweh, which he spoke concerning the house of Eli at Shiloh. And news came to Joab, for Joab had turned aside after Adonijah, though he did not turn aside from Absalom. And Joab fled to the tent of Yahweh, and took hold of the horns of the slaughter place. And the report came to sovereign Shlomo that Joab had fled to the tent of Yahweh, and see, he is by the slaughter place. Then Shlomo sent Beniyahu, son of Jehoiada, saying, Go fall on him. So Beniyahu came to the tent of Yahweh, and said to him, Thus said the sovereign, Come out. And he said, No, for here I die. And Beniyahu brought back word to the sovereign, saying, Thus said Joab, and thus he answered me. And the sovereign said to him, Do as he has said, and fall upon him, and you shall bury him, so that you take away from me and from the house of my father the blood which Joab shed without cause. Thus Yahweh shall return his blood on his head, because he had fallen on 2 men more righteous and better than he, and killed them with the sword, while my father David did not know it. Abner, son of Ner, commander of the army of Israel, and Amasa, son of Jether, commander of the army of Yehuda. So shall their blood return upon the head of Joab, and upon the head of his seed forever. But upon David and his seed, upon his house and his throne, there is to be peace forever from Yahweh. Then Beniyahu, son of Jehoiada, went up and fell upon him, and put him to death. And he was buried in his own house in the wilderness. And the sovereign put Beniyahu, son of Jehoiada, in his place over the army. And the sovereign put Zadok the priest in the place of Abiathar. And the sovereign sent and called for Shimei, and said to him, Build yourself a house in Jerusalem, and dwell there, and do not go out from there anywhere. And it shall be on the day you go out, and pass over the Wadi Kidron, know for certain that you shall die. Your blood is on your own head. And Shimei said to the sovereign, The word is good. As my master the sovereign has said, so your servant does. So Shimei dwelt in Jerusalem many days. And it came to be at the end of 3 years that 2 slaves of Shimei fled to Achish, son of Maacah, sovereign of Gath, and they informed Shimei, saying, See, your slaves are in Gath. And Shimei rose up and saddled his donkey, and went to Achish in Gath to look for his slaves. And Shimei went and brought his slaves from Gath. And Shlomo was told that Shimei had gone from Jerusalem to Gath, and had come back. So the sovereign sent and called for Shimei, and said to him, Did I not make you swear by Yahweh, and warn you, saying, Know for certain that on the day you leave to go anywhere, you shall certainly die? And you said to me, The word I have heard is good. And why have you not guarded the oath of Yahweh, and the command that I gave you? The sovereign also said to Shimei, You shall know all the evil that your heart has known, that you did to my father David, and Yahweh shall return your evil on your own head. But sovereign Shlomo is blessed, and the house of David is established before Yahweh forever. So the sovereign commanded Beniyahu, son of Jehoiada, and he went out and fell on him, and he died. And the reign was established in the hand of Shlomo. Chapter 3. And Shlomo joined in marriage with Pharaoh, sovereign of Mitzrayim, and took the daughter of Pharaoh, and brought her to the city of David, until he had completed building his own house, and the house of Yahweh, and the wall all around Jerusalem. Only the people slaughtered at the high places, for a house for the name of Yahweh had not been built until those days. And Shlomo loved Yahweh, walking in the laws of his father David, except that he slaughtered and burned incense at the high places. And the sovereign went to Gihon to slaughter there, for that was the great high place. Shlomo offered 1,000 ascending offerings on that slaughter place. At Gihon, Yahweh appeared to Shlomo in a dream by night, and Elohim said, Ask what I should give you. And Shlomo said, You have shown great loving commitment to your servant David, my father. as he walked before you in truth, and in righteousness, and in uprightness of heart with you. And you have guarded for him this great loving commitment, and did give him a son to sit on his throne, as it is this day. And now, O Yahweh, my Elohim, you have set up your servant to reign instead of my father David. But I am a little child. I do not know how to go out or to come in, and your servant is in the midst of your people, whom you have chosen, a great people, too numerous to be numbered or counted. Shall you then give your servant an understanding heart to rule, your people to discern between good and evil? For who is able to rule this great people of yours? And the word was good in the eyes of Yahweh that Shlomo had asked him. So Elohim said to him, because you have asked this, and have not asked long life for yourself, not have asked riches for yourself, not have asked the life of your enemies, but have asked for yourself discernment to understand right ruling. See, I shall do according to your words. See, I shall give you a wise and understanding heart, so that there was none like you before you, and none like you shall arise after you. And I shall also give you what you have not asked, both riches and esteem, so that there shall not be anyone like you among the sovereigns in all your days. And if you walk in my ways, to guard my laws and my commands as your father David walked, then I shall prolong your days. And Shlomo awoke, and see, it was a dream. And he came into Jerusalem and stood before the ark of the covenant of Yahweh, and offered up ascending offerings and made peace offerings, and he made a feast for all his servants. Then two women, whores, came to the sovereign and stood before him. And one woman said, O my master, this woman and I dwell in the same house. I gave birth while she was in the house, and it came to be the third day after I had given birth that this woman also gave birth, and we were together. There was a stranger with us in the house, only the two of us in the house. Then this woman's son died in the night because she lay on him. And she rose up in the middle of the night and took my son from my side while your female servant slept, and laid him in her bosom, and laid her dead child in my bosom. And I rose up in the morning to nurse my son, and saw he was dead. But I looked at him closely in the morning, and saw he was not my son whom I had born. And the other woman said, No, but the living one is my son, and the dead one is your son. And the first woman said, No, for the dead one is your son, and the living one is my son. And they spoke before the sovereign. And the sovereign said, The one says, This is my son who lives, and your son is the dead one, while the other says, No, for your son is the dead one, and my son is the living one. And the sovereign said, Bring me a sword. So they brought a sword before the sovereign. And the sovereign said, Divide the living child in two, and give half to one and half to the other. And the woman whose son was living spoke to the sovereign, for she was overcome with compassion for her son, and said, O my master, give her the living child, and by no means kill him. But the other said, Let him be neither mine nor yours, but divide him. And the sovereign answered and said, Give the first one the living child, and by no means kill him. She is his mother. And all Israel heard of the right ruling which the sovereign had rendered, and they feared the sovereign, for they saw that the wisdom of Elohim was in him to do right ruling. Chapter 4. And it came to be that sovereign Shlomo was sovereign over all Israel, and these were his chief officials: Azar Yahu, son of Zadok the priest, Elhorpheth, and Abiyah, sons of Shisha, scribes, Jehoshaphat, son of Abihud, the recorder, and Beniyahu, son of Jehoiada, over the army, and Sadok and Abiathar, the priests, and Azariah, son of Nathan, over the officers, Zabud, son of Nathan, a priest, friend of the sovereign, and Ahishar, over the household, and Adon Iram, son of Abada, over the compulsory labor. And Shlomo had 12 governors over all Israel, who provided food for the sovereign and his household, Each one made provision for one new moon of the year, and these were their names: Ben-Hur in the mountains of Ephraim, Ben-Deker in Makatz, and Sha'albim, and Beth Shemesh, and Elon, Beth Hanan, Ben Heshed, in Araboth, Sako, and all the land of Hepner were his. Ben Ab Inadab, all the height of Dor. Taphath, the daughter of Shlomo, became his wife. Banana, son of Ahilud, in Ta'anak, and Megiddo, and all Beth Sha'an, which is beside Sarathon, before Israel, from Beth Sha'an to Abel Meholah, as far as the other side of Yokanam. Ben Geber in Ramoth Galad, the towns of Yair, son of Manasseh, in Gilad were his. The portion of Argob in Bashan, 60 large cities with walls and bronze gate bars were his. Ahinadab, son of Edo, in Mahanaim, Amihatz in Naphtali. He also took Basemath, the daughter of Shlomo, as wife. Baana, son of Hushai, in Asher, in Aloth. Yosaphat, son of Paruah, in Issachar. Shimi, son of Elah, in Benjamin. Geber, son of Uri, in the land of Gilad, in the land of Shihon, sovereign of the Amorites, and of Og, sovereign of Bashan, and the one governor was in the land. Yehuda and Yisrael were as numerous as the sand by the sea, eating and drinking and rejoicing. And Shlomo was ruling over all the reigns from the river to the land of the Philistines, as far as the border of Mitzrayim. They did task work and served Shlomo all the days of his life. And Shlomo's food supply for one day was 30 cores of fine flour and 60 cores of meal, 10 fatted cattle, and 20 cattle from the pastures, and 100 sheep, besides deer and gazelles, and roebucks and fatted fowl. For he was ruling over all on his side of the river, from Tissa even to Azah, over all the sovereigns on this side of the river. And he had peace on all sides around about him. And Yehuda and Yisrael dwelt safely, each man under his vine. And his fig tree, from Dan as far as Beersheba, all the days of Shlomo. And Shlomo had 40,000 stalls of horses for his chariots, 12,000 horsemen. And these governors, each one in his new moon, provided food for sovereign Shlomo, and for all who came to the table of sovereign Shlomo. There was no lack in their supply. And they also brought barley and straw to the appointed place for the horses and steeds, each one according to his right ruling. And Elohim gave Shlomo exceeding great wisdom and understanding and largeness of heart like the sand on the seashore. And Shlomo's wisdom excelled the wisdom of all the men of the east and all the wisdom of Mitzrayim, for he was wiser than all men. Then Ethan, the Ezrahite, and Haman, and Kalkol, and Darda, the sons of Mahol, and his name was in all the nations round about. And he spoke 3,000 proverbs, and his songs were 1,005. And he spoke of trees, from the cedar trees of Lebanon, even to the hyssop that springs out of the wall. And he spoke of beasts, and of birds, and of creeping creatures, and of fish. And there came from all the peoples, from all the sovereigns of the earth, who had heard of his wisdom, to hear the wisdom of Shlomo. chapter 5. And Hiram, sovereign of Sor, sent his servants to Shlomo, because he heard that they had anointed him sovereign in place of his father. For Hiram had always loved David. And Shlomo sent to Hiram, saying, You know my father David was unable to build a house for the name of Yahweh, his Elohim, because of the battles which were all around him, until Yahweh put them under the soles of his feet. But now Yahweh my Elohim has given me rest all around. There is neither adversary nor evil incident. And see, I intend to build a house for the name of Yahweh my Elohim, as Yahweh spoke to my father David, saying, Your son, whom I set on your throne in your place, he does build the house for my name. And now, command that they cut down cedars for me from Lebanon. And let my servants be with your servants, and let me pay you wages for your servants according to whatever you say. For you know there is none among us who knows to cut timber like the Sidonians. And it came to be, when Hiram heard the words of Shlomo, that he rejoiced greatly and said, Blessed be Yahweh this day, for he has given David a wise son over this great people. And Hiram sent to Shlomo, saying, I have heard that which you send me. Let me do all you desire concerning the cedar and cypress logs. Let my servants bring them down from Lebanon to the sea. Then I put them in rafts by sea to the place you direct me, and I shall spread them out there. Then you take them up, while you do my desire by giving food for my household. And Hiram gave Shlomo cedar and cypress logs, all his desire. And Shlomo gave Hiram 20,000 cores of wheat as food for his household, and 20 cores of pressed oil. Thus Shlomo gave to him Hiram year by year. And Yahweh gave Shlomo wisdom as he promised him. And there was peace between Hiram and Shlomo, and the two of them made a covenant. And sovereign Shlomo raised up compulsory labor out of all Israel, and the compulsory labor was 30,000 men. And he sent them to Lebanon, 10,000 per new moon by courses. There were 1 new moon in Lebanon, 2 new moons at home. And Adoniram was over the compulsory labor. And Shlomo had 70,000 bearing burdens, and 80,000 hewing stone in the mountains, besides 3,300 from the chiefs of Shlomo's deputies, who were over the work, those ruling over the people who labored in the work. And the sovereign commanded, and they brought up large stones, precious stones, to lay the foundation of the house with hewn stones. And Shlomo's builders, and Hiram's builders, and the men of Gebal did hew and prepared timber and stones to build the house. I hope you have a blessed day. Shalom.